Mick's already mentioned Masterminded, the 2-milers. He put up the performance of a horse with an extraordinary talent. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen anything. I couldn't believe it when he won the Champion Chase.
I don't think a lot of people could. Richard Dunwoody, who's ridden a lot of winners at Cheltenham, he said that it's the most authoritative performance he's ever seen from any horse at the festival. And like, he's seen a lot of good horses win at Cheltenham. You can get a horse to look that good round Cheltenham and do it that way because he's such a good jumper, such an easy traveller. He found it all very easy where everybody else was struggling. And I think it's a weak division at the minute, the 2-milers, and I think it's really looking for something to come along and grab it. And you know, I wouldn't be surprised to see some of the novices from last year vying to try and win some of the big early races over 2 miles.
First time we saw Masterminded at the races, well, first time his British debut was at Exeter, and he got rid of Sam Thomas. And then again at Aintree after that, 1 or 2 jumping floors just coming into his portfolio, if you like. So is there a question mark there?
I think there has to be. Paul said he did an awful lot of work with his jumping, and they've seen the results and how well he jumped when he won at Cheltenham. But we saw him at Liverpool. He did something again, but it just looked to me like he was struggling, and that's why he made the mistake early on when he got rid of Sam at Exeter. I think it was just he was struggling to adapt to the English fences. Do
you think at Aintree he was struggling through the long season, or do you think he was struggling to see out the 2.5 miles?
I think it's funny. You get horses and people say, oh, he had an easy race. There's no such thing as an easy race when you get to one of the big festival races. And I think this horse probably suffered from that. He put so much effort into that performance at Cheltenham. I don't think he was the same horse when he ran at Aintree.
One of my favourite horses in training, undoubtedly, Voipora Steady, has been a wonderful, wonderful campaigner. Very, very tough horse. But on the evidence that we saw last year, he's about a stone behind Masterminded.
Yeah, certainly when we saw him at Cheltenham, he looked to be that far behind him. Funny horse, this fella. Seems to have 2 ways of running. One day he looks to be very laboured. The next day he'll run with a bit more enthusiasm. Don't know whether they'll tie with the idea of putting some headgear on him. French horses, they tend to need something to make them concentrate. Now, just from me, it's my opinion, but I think he's a horse that could do with some headgear just to concentrate his mind.
I tell you, he reminds me of a little bit Edredon Bleu. You know, the
yeah,
sort of thing.
Like and you get horses like him. The French run horses in cheek pieces a lot. And, maybe cheek pieces might just help him.
King George, perhaps, for him, something like that.
It's certainly been touted, hasn't it? Horses that have won the Queen Mother have tried it in the past and none of them have won it. But he just looks like he's getting a little bit slower now.
And Tidal Bay, we mentioned him, about him staying a trip, but you want a horse who's going to get every yard of the 2 miles, and so... Again, we know he hacks around Cheltenham. Yeah,
it was. I thought Dennis O'Regan gave him a very good ride last year. He's not the easiest Tidal Bay, but there's no doubt about it. He's a long way ahead of all the 2-mile hurdle chasers from last year. He's way ahead of them all, but he has got jumping flaws. And if they creep in, this horse could go backwards very, very quickly. He's the best horse by a mile of any of the novices last year, but his jumping is a little bit suspect.
Do you know what? The funny thing is I watched him when he ran at Doncaster when Ruby rode him, and it was just one of those... Ruby's got a very quiet, very sort of long range, just drops his hands on the horse's withers. I think he totally confused the horse. The horse didn't know what to do.
Yeah, he's a horse that looks like he needs an awful lot of support from in-house. He looks like he's very, very good when he gets in deep. He's very good to get up in the air. But I think when you let go of his head to ask him to come on a long stride, he gets lost. And I think that's what happened to him at Doncaster. And I know if Ruby rode him again, you would see a very different ride from Ruby. But Ruby didn't know the horse. The horse said, he put him in the right spot. The horse didn't pick up. But, Ruby's the type of jockey that once he gets it wrong once, he would be very keen to put it right the second time.
OK, so the Champion Chase, Masterminded?
I think probably the most open division of the whole lot, this one. And,
I thought it's just a one-horse race, though, isn't it?
Yeah, you say that, but like you've said, you've already talked about the frailties of Masterminded. So, you can't rule your season around one horse, and I think he might only run a few times, so you could be looking for something else to knock him off the peg.